Well, hello and happy Thanksgiving, and welcome back to the 12 Days of Christmas Ornaments. Today is day 8. We're going to do some hand painting on some ornaments. So I've got some glass and some wood ornaments that we're just going to do a little decorative painting on. If you've been enjoying this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you'd like to learn how to transform your furniture, your home, and most of all you. The first step we're going to do is we're going to take our Christmas ball and we're going to add a base color to it. What I'm doing is using a stippling motion instead of brushing it on. This one gives you much better coverage to where you only need 2 coats versus several coats when you brush it on, but also you don't see all of those brush strokes. It just really helps when painting on a really smooth surface like glass or plastic or anything like that. So some of these balls are plastic and some are glass. Now this particular one we painted with a light sea glass color, and this will go on our nutcracker tree. But I'm just taking some white paint and I'm creating a little leaf pattern and a little flower pattern. I'm not really sure what the name of these flowers are. If you know, let me, if you have an idea of what the name of the flower is that looks similar to these, let me know in the comments below. And I'm just alternating between the leaf pattern and the flower pattern. It's all very similar strokes, just using this artist brush and just using that shape to create the petals and create the leaves. And the great thing about using the white on the light background is there's not a strong contrast. So if you mess up, it's not going to matter that much. It's going to be kind of just the overall look is what we're looking for, the overall kind of florally pattern. I saw some wrapping paper that was similar to this, and that's kind of what I'm using for the inspiration. So if you find a pattern on some fabric or some um, wrapping paper, cards, Christmas, bags, that sort of thing, you can use that as inspiration to then create that design onto your ornament. And you'll just continue that pattern all the way around the entire ornament until it looks just right. You want to leave some free space and some areas, need to be covered in. What do you think? Think she's pretty? I think she's going to look beautiful on our little nutcracker tree. Now I'm just taking a little bit of this apricot pink color and I'm adding a center to each one of those flowers. Okay, now let's get started on a nice bold rose pattern. So you're going to kind of create a base color, kind of do kind of a circular motion to give the rough shape of the outline of the rose. And then we'll come back and we'll add a little bit of a darker color for the center. I'm using, so a rose will be darker in the middle and then lighter towards the outside. So that's where I'm just trying to base that color in right now. And then add a little darker for that center right there. I'm using all one brush so that it isn't a whole lot of back and forth because we're just trying to make really abstract looking roses. We're not trying to get overly detailed or overly um we're not trying to be, perfection. And we're just trying to give the overall appearance of a rose. And I will just take that brush. It's a round brush um, that just makes the petals really nicely. You're just going to continue to add all the way around the edges. And like I said, it'll be darker in the middle and then lighter towards the outside. And as I keep working it, you'll notice it get there. And we'll just add another little rosebud next to it. This is the bottom of the ornament, so I really tried to add the main focus there because that's kind of what you'll see from the hanging on the tree. So we're going to do a cluster of 3, but just continuing doing the same exact motion over again. And now we'll start on the 3rd rows of that cluster and then add a little rosebud in there as well. I take for each one of those rosebuds, I put the center in a little bit different angle, and that makes it gives the appearance that they're kind of, facing a little bit slightly different direction, not just straight at you. Just kind of keep that in mind as well, that it adds a little more interest if you have them kind of facing different directions. This is really something super fun to just kind of play with. You can kind of let it dry a little bit and then add a few more petals and kind of keep going as it just starts to feel right. Now we're going to take some deep teal and we're going to create some leaves and a little stem on that rosebud that's hanging out over there. Leaves on a rose are very, on a rosebud especially, they're quite, spiky and spindly. As they mature more, they get more rounded, but they're still very spiky on the edges. So I'm using this very fine artist brush to kind of create the sections of the leaves that are kind of spiky. Again, we're just giving general shapes. We're not worrying about too much detail. We're not worrying about being overly fussy. The Obviously, the more you want to put into it, you can, but you really don't have to create just really something beautiful. Once it's hanging on the tree, you're not going to see all those little tiny intimate details anyways. And now we have a nice little cluster down at the bottom, and we'll just add a few more roses as we go around the ball to kind of fill it in a little bit. Now we'll take a little white just to add a little bit of dimension in those leaves. Like I said, not a whole lot. This is just kind of a rough shape of what the leaves would look like. We'll also take a little bit of that white and add a few highlights and details on our roses as well. All right, we're getting close to being done and we filled it in quite nicely. Now let's go ahead and head over to our wooden ornaments. One is done already, and we're kind of creating a little bit of a folk arty type pattern on here. And I'm just basing it in with that dark teal, and then I'm going to come in with the sea glass to add just a little bit of dimension and a little shading to the background of the ornament. So I put the two colors on with two different brushes, and then I come back with a dry brush to kind of blend it all in, the same as we would blend on a piece of furniture. Just a much smaller section, obviously. Now that the base is all done and it is dried, we're going to start creating a leaf pattern with that muscadine wine color. You kind of want your leaves to be hanging, but in slightly different directions and slightly different sizes all the way around the ornament. Now we're going to come with the sea glass and we're going to add kind of little, almost like water droplets kind of shape. So it'll be a nice round, heavy on the bottom, and then it comes up to really tiny at the top. But and it kind of looks like mistletoe leaves. They're kind of rounded and hang like this. So I guess you could say that it's a little mistletoe as well. And we're going to connect all of those together so that they hang like it's a part of a branch. And we'll just finish that pattern around the ball, but we're leaving some space because we're going to come back in with the pink color, pink apricot color. This is all the same colors we've been using throughout the entire series. So if you haven't seen those, go back and check because this is day 8. So there's 7 more videos and 7 more projects that I have been doing throughout this holiday season. And we're just doing the same exact shape, alternating in between those sea glass leaves. Once that is all done, now we're going to add some berries. So we're going to take this peony, and these are all Dixie Belle paint products. These are just paints that I've had on hand. I used to be a Dixie Belle paint retailer, so I have a lot of paint on hand, but you could certainly do this with acrylic paint. You could artist paint or like the apple barrel or, those kind of acrylic paints as well. We're just going to create little round berries here and there. What's great about the shape of this ornament is there's a nice top to hold on to as I'm painting around there. So now I'm just going to add some little pink leaves, 2 leaf sets all the way around this little bottom section. And then we'll come back with some white and we'll just add some accents to the center of the berries to show it kind of makes it look more like a berry rather than just a round circle or polka dot. And as I continued around, I just added a few more highlights here and there just to help it look a little more, I don't know, it just makes it come alive a little more, a little less flat. And then some more dots at the bottom, kind of creating a snow kind of effect. And around any of the solid areas. You want to use very light pressure with the end of that artist brush so that it doesn't create a big smudge. It just creates a nice little dot. And then we'll come back with some of that sea glass and we'll add some little berries in between each one of those leaves. Well, what do you think, y'all? Aren't they just darling on my grandbaby's tree? And then the other ones will go on our tree that will go in our living room next to that deep tune mantle. And we're keeping with that nice moody deep colors this year. And if you've enjoyed these series of projects, go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. We have several others coming out this season, as well as finishing off this 12 days of Christmas. And if you'd like to see the one yesterday, hit that card right there below.